All right, everyone, welcome to the SEO and, well, GEO, AEO, LLM, whatever you want to call it, news for week 3. So that was last week. I've gathered everything that's interesting, cool, new tools, everything you need to know to either perform your job as an SEO consultant or, if you work with a website and you want more traffic from organic sources. So let's just jump right in. My name is Frederick Drost. And first off, holy moly, is literally what Chris Long wrote here. Google has been launched last week the Universal Commerce Protocol. So it's an open standard for agents. It's it's supposed to rival agentic commerce protocol from OpenAI. What that means is by employing this, you might be able to buy directly in Google SERPs, which is very interesting. And I think the takeaways here, if you're in e-commerce, you have a lot of Google Shopping traffic, et cetera, et cetera. The takeaway here is there will be trade-offs from doing that. I'm not sure people will want to do that either. I'm not sure how OpenAI's version of this, how popular it is or being used, but it might be worth looking into, especially if you start seeing your competitors having that. Like, you don't want to be left in the rain if people actually want to buy things in the SERPs. I think it highly depends on what you're selling. I think luxury goods, people want to go on the website. I don't think people will buy a Cartier watch for 10 thousands of euros directly in the SERPs. There's a trust factor, but if you're selling very basic items like bulk T-shirts, etc., like just socks, things people just want easily, this is definitely worth looking into. Higher priority for those types of businesses. Anyway, I digress. Have a look at the article here. Go and search for it in Google. You'll probably be able to see the documentation as well if it's not already there. Another thing here. So I've got 3 articles or 3 rows here of news that are all pertaining to personal intelligence from Google and personalization. And here is a quote. Maureen Haynes here has cited a quote from their white paper, and she's imagining how personalized intelligence plus the UCP will change the web. So the UCP is what we just talked about. Again, Gemini, find me this. Yeah, go ahead and buy it for me. It makes sense. Again, it depends on the industry, depends on what you're selling. The challenge here, and again, we have Lily Ray also talking about it, personalization in AI mode. And then finally, here is a little bit more of a breakdown of the Google recommender system with semantic intent. So again, how do we give recommendations to you personally based on who you are and how you've searched, etc. So all of these kind of line in a way. And I think the takeaway here is diving into this is figuring out for SEOs how hard it'll be to track these sorts of things. So again, if all search results become hyper personalized, well, what we're tracking is usually non-personalized. So how do we then adapt to this? Do we need to use clickstream data? Will there be a new industry with personalized, like how many versions of this search volume has personalized aspect to it, and what are the differences? Is that something? I mean, if I was SEMrush, Ahrefs, or any other tracker, I'd look into this slowly. So how do we track personalized search results exactly? Is really going to be the tough one. Of course, we could do a little bit of deductions and um, what's it called? I can't forget the name. Correlation, between what we're seeing and what we do. But I digress. These are interesting things to look at. It's not quite yet there, I think, but definitely worth looking into for tracking purposes. Then Search Engine Journal has a free downloadable report titled The Ultimate AEO and GEO Benchmark Report. Again, they're giving us a little bit of a hint of what's going on in there. For example, 25% of Google searches now trigger an AI overview. ChatGPT drives 87% of all AI referral traffic, which I think is still very low. I think a 0.25% in total in terms of all traffic going to websites. Maybe it's a bit more. I can't remember. But again, I haven't gone through this in detail, but go ahead and download it for free. Just give them your info, and you'll get some newsletters. You can always remove them later. Then we've got good old Chris Long, which again, Chris Long on LinkedIn, he's just posting almost too much. I mean, this guy's just, he's good. He's a good follow, but wow, there's a lot of stuff. He's really knee deep in SEO. And he's talking about the Google Analytics MCP. So again, that's a model context protocol server. So you can connect an AI agent to it and you can ask it to do things. So again, there's a short video there. I suggest you watch it. It's powerful. You can definitely have this agent that knows your data and you can say, well, gather me the most, bought products or blah, blah, blah. The question I ask is, I like to do analysis where I see the data and then perform something on it to get results. And here I'm not really seeing the data. Maybe an agent can also prove it or give you the summary sheet. But again, if you give me a new sheet that's been summarized from raw data or a new CSV file, I don't know if that's true still. So I kind of don't really own the process of the data. I don't think you can actually confirm this, but I'm not sure how good these AI agents are at this, but it could be very powerful. So worth looking into, maybe if you're managing a lot of accounts as a consultant, for example. Great. Microsoft came out with an AEO GEO Playbook. That's very interesting. Chris Long's take, again, very prolific, sorry. My takeaway from his takeaway, and again, I'm getting into reading this, I just kind of skimmed through it. A lot of this is classic SEO, right? I do like the idea of whole pages dedicated to AI agents, and there's a few extra things here. But again, they're also talking about structured data, product, offer, aggregate rating, FAQ. They're also talking about date modified for freshness, which again, be careful. Sometimes date published is better for freshness if you have date modified date. I know Google doesn't really apply if you have both. Google will take date published and not modified in certain cases, especially on page. Oh, there was somebody did a test on this on LinkedIn. It was magnificent. But anyway, just be careful with this. But anyway, a lot of this is still very much SEO, right? But again, what I want to extract from this and what you should be extracting from this is what are the things that are specific, highly specific to GEO, AEO, and not SEO. That's kind of what we want to if you are selling a GEO service. Okay, so we've got something from Will Kennard here. I didn't know this person here. This is extremely super, super technical. I kind of got lost in it, but it talks about caching using Next JavaScript, which is a framework for web development. And he's talking a lot about different types of caches, like static cache, dynamic cache, and that there's 4 levels, and it really has an impact on SEO. Again, if you have very dynamic pages where you have user inputs and dynamic things and a lot of things going on, maybe these like kind of Amazon type level e-commerces, this is worth looking into. I think it's just a good resource to have. So that's why I added it here. But I don't understand half of this, to be honest. A really good article on why Google will win the AI search war. And again, I saw that coming. I think they're too big to fail in some cases. It's likely to remain the dominant search provider. The question is ChatGPT's goal to be a search provider or be a tool, right? A few stats that stood out to me. There's a search volume gap. I think we have 14 billion searches a day for Google versus ChatGPT's 37 million prompts a day. So it's small, a nice little small ratio there. Market share, Google is around 93%, ChatGPT 0.25%. And then the user behavior. So 95 to 99% of AI tool users still use traditional search. ChatGPT tends to expand information seeking rather than replace Google. So ChatGPT is such a powerful tool for so many things, but I feel like businesses is taking it and using it. I don't think they will become a search provider, and I think they're trying to. I think they should create models for specific tasks at an enterprise level and become a B2B. That's just my opinion, but hey, I can see why they want to win the search race as well, and fair enough to them. But I think it's worth having these. I keep sharing these new studies because a lot of clients or people I work with come in and we need to focus on GEO and AEO, and we need to hyper focus on LLMs, and let's chunkify all our content, which I'll talk about later. There's an article about that. But the important thing to take away here is we need the data to prove to C-level people, C-suits, that this is not a high priority focus when Google is still providing most of our value in terms of sales or something like that. So by over optimizing for LLMs, we lose traffic on Google, which hurts us even more. And we can just share the data, and that narrates a story that's maybe convinced people. So pretty good stuff here. Google December core update. I know we talked about it last week, but now we have Lily Ray from AMSIV, of course, sharing her winners and losers. Have a look at it, read it through. Especially if you saw some changes, you might want to understand why. Here again, the big picture is e-commerce and retail, especially apparel, were amongst the biggest winners. And then major user-generated content platforms and Q&A saw a decline. So Quora, Stack Overflow, Reddit. But Reddit, Facebook, and Instagram rebounded quickly. And I know that Facebook had some crazy, those Facebook groups are getting a lot of traffic. So that was something we talked about last week. But then TikTok and Quora continued to decline. So there's been some stuff going on there. Also, review and ranking sites with stricter verification and moderation tended to gain, while the open crowdsourced review aggregators lost visibility. So here's a very much like authority signal when you look at that. And I feel like going back to Murray Haynes' summary of the Google Core December is that Google is again going back to rewarding niche and tighter authority. Like you really are just selling jeans. You know so much about it. You know more about it and is a better source than a giant company that sells everything, including jeans. And that makes a lot of sense, I feel. So I think it's a good core update that came out here. And if you have lost or gained, you want to look into this and Murray Haynes' analysis and kind of figure out, well, what are we supposed to do then? Is it content pruning? Is it being more specialized? Like, there's a bunch of ways to look at it. Have stronger authority signals, etc. But thank you, Lily Ray, for this. Again, we talked about chunkifying, but this new analysis argues that Mike King's rag chunking thesis is overrated. I always thought that it's overrated. Chunkifying is like, I want to create content for humans, so it needs to be nice and readable. And then if AIs don't like that, too bad. Like it's supposed to be read by humans. That's the point. Could you make a version for AIs and serve it to only them? Yes, that's a different story, totally. But he claims breaking content into optimized atomic passages improves RAG retrieval. So he had some similarity gains, cosine similarity. But this article debutes the claim that large-scale citation analysis showing different drivers of AI visibility. So again, it's a very good analysis. It's heavy on data and argumentative data. Have a look at it. I think it kind of goes into why we shouldn't over-optimize for this stuff. But if you see some of your pages getting a lot of AI referrals for some reason, it might be worth looking into tests. But if your pages are not, like there might be so many other factors in this ecosystem that's the reason why they're not getting AI citations. So if you're like, well, let's just chunkify and over-optimize for this RAG retrieval, I don't think it will change that much. You won't see a spike in AI referrals because if it's not ranking well as well, there's correlation between good ranking and all these other things. So and citations and training data, and it just adds up to so much that this is the thing I would only start looking into if you're getting AI referrals and want more, basically. But pretty good article. Have a look at it. Lily Ray again has shared a really cool little template here on questions you can ask like your LLM tracker software about your brand. So give you an idea of how it's how the AI sees your brand. And it's just a nice little template, and it's so nice of her to share. So thumbs up for you, Lily Ray. We love that. Here's one that's interesting. I don't do a lot of local SEO, only for a few friends, but Google AI Overviews local pack is leading to huge drop in visibility for local search. And the impact here is businesses are reporting losses for their Google profile listings or local listings, some cases 50% decline in metrics like calls and clicks. This change to appear to increase clicks to ads and reduce organic engagement with business profiles. So it seems like it's showing fewer businesses, sometimes 1 to 2 instead of 3, and it can remove interactions like call buttons. So it's shifting the traffic away from profiles, which is so weird. Local SEO people are actually raising alarms. So have a look at this article. If you're doing local SEO, now you can maybe share something to talk to your clients. It's just bad because where else would people go when you're looking for local? The point is to find a business and call it. So I'm just a little bit, Google is, I don't know what they're doing. Cyrus Shepard as well sharing a really cool plugin here, I think for Chrome. If you want to see how aggressive Google ads are, well, thank you, Cyrus. Now there is this plugin that shows you all the sponsored results. It's just a nice visual way to kind of do that quickly, and maybe you want to, I think even with being a non-SEO person, this is quite good to just really visualize quickly what are ads and what are not. They get a quick idea, and this is how Google should have been doing it a long time, but they're trying to really hide the fact that they are ads. That's kind of a thing where Google is doing this fine balance of like, we don't want you to know this ads because we make money when people click, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's just crazy. Maybe what they should do is just go through sell impressions instead at a lower price. But yeah, they might make less money. That's probably a discussion they've had. Finally, before we close this video down, a lot going on here. We've got OpenAI will be beginning to test free well, ads inside ChatGPT for free and ChatGPT Go users in the US in the coming weeks. ChatGPT Go also launched in the US at $8 a month. So there'll be ads in ChatGPT. Does this really matter? Well, what are we going to see now? Is that going to be a user behavior? Will that affect how your AI referrals and maybe even your visibility on some trackers, LLM trackers, will it change? Most likely, if you throw a lot of ads into Google SERPs, you change the way people see it. You lose a bit of traffic to some of the ads. Maybe people scroll too much. They might get dissatisfied in some cases if the ads are not relevant. So it might change your AI referrals traffic. It might change your visibility scores in some of these tools that tracks them, Peak AI, Profound. And this might be why. So I think that's why it's worth sharing so that you understand what you're seeing in your own data. But yeah, it'd be very interesting to see some breakdown on how good these ads are. Very curious. But anyway, that was the news for week 3. Hope you enjoyed it. You will see in the video in the bottom, there is a link to all of these. Well, actually, all of the news are summarized with titles, summary, and links. So you can just kind of copy paste this, send it in an email. And I highly advise you to go through the ones you were interested in and read them in depth. But otherwise, have a great day, and I'll see all of you lovely folks next week.